the same pressure that bus pipes build diamonds. And people are like tea bags. You want
Man,
to find out the flavor, put them in hot water. And baby, you put me in hot water, we just lighten the room up. Like, let's go.
let's
And
go.
I learned that because I became a problem solver, and it's okay if it takes you 10 years, because 10 years is going to go by. And you want to be 10 years of the same year for 10 years in a row of a job? Or do you want to go through some growth so in 10 years, you can call people and be like, hey, man, you want to go out on the boat? And they're like, nah, man, I got to work. Oh, that's right. Tuesdays, you got a job. All right, catch you later, man. Hey, if you ever get a free time during the league, let me know. I'm going to the lake. I'm going to go catch some fish. Hey, I'm going to go hunting. I'm going to go, like all the things that people do with fun, or
Yeah,
they,
let's go.
they see you at your kid's school. So yeah, absolutely. Just, it's worth it. Totally worth it if the marketplace will support the business.
Yo, 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 this is the Streetwise podcast, where we help you level up your game, level up your leadership, and level up your life. I'm your host, Matthew McReynolds. I'm a multi-brand franchisee, and I'm a franchise consultant, which means I help people find, launch, and build their ideal franchise business. My main goal is to help you get off of zero and become the person that your dreams need you to be. Buckle up, get your popcorn ready, let's go. All right, Streetwise Nation, we're talking to Jason Bardin with Primerica today. Man, we're going to get into some heavy hitting stuff, but Jason, before we do, how you doing, man? Happy Friday.
And I'm good. Happy Friday, man. How are you?
Oh man, rocking it. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. We've had some crazy storms lately,
Dude,
but it's sunny outside right now. I can't complain.
I
80
did.
degrees in May.
Yeah, I
Come on.
shorts weather, and I didn't have to turn on a spotlight for a video call.
There we
I had all
go. Yeah, you
all
got some
natural
nice
light. I'll
lighting,
take it.
man. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So tell the audience, man, you and I go back.
yeah,
We've networked, we've connected for multiple years now. But tell
yeah,
the audience what you do and how that impacts your day to day.
yeah. So I'm a regional vice president with Primerica, which is just a fancy title to say that I run and operate a brick and mortar location in the DFW area. Been doing that for about 18 years. This
Oh,
was my answer on like, how do I put myself through college? I was working nights driving forklifts, knew that wasn't my like long-term career choice. And so I thought I'll go try the college route. And I was getting ready to transition from community college. I was going to do UT Dallas. My goal was to go through their master's program with a business management degree. I wanted to leave with a Swiss Army knife, something that was good for everything and nothing
yeah,
all at the same time.
yeah.
And so
I
I was
resonate.
looking for a way to pay cash, because when you go, when you getting out of college doesn't guarantee a pay raise. And I just understood the economic with as little as I understood about like money and finance and all that stuff. I just understood that I needed to be lean and nimble financially. And so I was trying to graduate college without any student loan debt, so that if
Okay.
I had to take a job, even at the same like annual salary, I didn't want to have to take a step back because now I had a new student loan debt that I had to pay. And so I was
Yeah.
just looking, I was trying to figure out a way to like solve that Rubik's Cube in my life. I had a friend send me a message, say, hey, I think I found the perfect like part-time gig for you. It was Primerica. I went into an office, met with a guy, and I saw that I could work like on the weekends, make enough money to pay cash for college. Went through, and so I also saw that there were no quotas, no minimums, so I could do it while I was going to college, and I could treat it like an
Sure.
internship. Just give me a better resume. I was trying to be more, I just want to be competitive in the marketplace when I was trying to switch careers. And the one thing I didn't want to hear after college is, we love your degree, we love your grades, come back when you have some experience. And so I was just trying to do all of it at the same time. So I joined, I got all my licenses because I knew it would guarantee employability with the licenses that we have to get to operate in my industry, specifically a series licensing. And so when I went through training, I started paying attention, and they taught me how financial products worked, not just how they're sold, but how they work. And they started teaching the red flags that when you're talking to people and they would give a list of things, these are red flags, we can probably put them in a better financial position. And every time they listed a red flag, I was like, That's my, like, I think I got one of them things. I think mine works that way.
Wow.
And what I found out is we had somebody that for 3 generations, my grandparents, my parents, and me, he was our guy. And what I found out going through training is he sold us what paid him the most, gave us the least. And I wish somebody would have loved my grandparents enough to teach them what I was learning in a room that sat 50. We had 4 people in there taking notes. I was one of them. Um, and I just started teaching people what nobody, I got it. My grandparents were gone. So it's not like I could go back and go, hey, like, what would you have done differently if you knew? I couldn't ask that question. But based on the results, I thought there's no way they would have picked what they got if they knew what I know. So I built a side gig around teaching people what nobody loved my grandparents enough to teach us. And it allowed me to sit down with people that I would have been intimidated to talk to, people my parents' age, my grandparents' age. I was 24, couldn't grow facial hair to save my life. I looked younger than I was. And I had them going, well, I didn't know that. Can you look at my stuff? And all of a sudden, they taught us how to be salespeople. I
Sure.
learned how to be a consultant. And so some of the struggles that I was hearing in trainings that people were trying to figure out how to overcome, I wasn't dealing with because I wasn't using tactics to try and like, get people to say yes. I was just, hey, this is what nobody taught us. Anybody ever teach you this stuff? Hey, if I could show you how, would you be interested? Do you want my help? Does that matter to you? And all of a sudden the whole goal was so that when I got married and when we had kids, if I had a wife that had a desire to be a stay-at-home mom, I could say, okay. And we accidentally got there without college. And I went, this is kind of interesting and kind of off to the races. So for the last 18 years, I've been a problem solver in the financial space. And we only have so many friends and family that can become clients. And I've never met somebody got rich selling their mama, their daddy, their best friend,
Facts.
like, and whatever product or service they're selling, right? Like you have to meet some people.
Spread out. Yeah.
Yeah. So your options are like, you can get referrals, but I found that when you ask people, hey, who do you know? They're like, I don't know. I don't know. And so I'd get referrals, but I couldn't get enough to scale it. You can cold call, door knock, buy leads, place ads, but I already knew what the returns were on that, and I didn't want to do that. You could go bump your shopping cart into strangers at Walmart. That was really creepy, so not really down for that.
That
And then
actually happened to me recently.
Yeah, you're like, wow, you're awfully friendly at Target, and then they like hit you with the pitch, and you're like, oh, okay.
Here it is.
It's so funny because it's non-value add selling. And so I got taught all that stuff. And then I came across some trainings from somebody who taught how to go into professional networking settings, connect with people where it wasn't one-sided, where you could like cohesively work together for mutual benefit to share referrals. The byproduct would be you would become each other's clients if it made sense, right, on both sides. And then you could build relationships long term that were productive. You could build know, like, trust, and respect, and those are the cornerstones for long term being able to connect with people. And so it was like right place, right time. I had a real estate agent call me and go, hey, I've got this like networking group, and I don't remember if it was the financial advisor or the life insurance seat that was open. I think it was life. And me and one other guy showed up, and I was like, well, it's whoever puts their application in to join the group first. And I put my application in, and everything changed. It went from hobby money to business money. I was able to scale. I never ran out of people to go talk to, which most salespeople, they go, well, I got a great product or service. I'm great at delivery. I just need prospects to talk to. And I solved the how do I get as many as I want. I started booking 30, 40 appointments a week, and without cold calling, without door knocking, no placing lead, like all this stuff that most industries talk about to really blow up your book. And we started that about 10 years ago and really never never looked back. Did a lot of the right things on accident. And then
Sure.
and then after COVID and all the changes, my network got decimated during COVID because people went from external to internal. They moved, they switched industries, all this changing happened. So after COVID, I was like, man, I got to rebuild it. I just didn't want to be as inefficient as I was the first time. So we're a couple of years into that, have a ton of freedom, get to do some of the things that I really want, go on vacation with my family, volunteer at my kids' school. I actually run the dad's program for my kids' school.
Yeah, it's
And
awesome.
this is a new school for us. So I was at the last one for 4 years. They knew me. If I lost my name badge, nobody was looking for me. This is a new school. It took me about 6 months to break in. And I did in the last 6 months what took me like 3 years to do at the last school. Because again, okay, I know what works. So how do I repeat that so that we can achieve the same goals faster? I don't do that to grow the business. I actually volunteer at my kids' school to get them favor. Right? I want them, if they have challenges, we don't have any behavioral challenges. My daughter gets a little extra help because of dyslexia. They're really well-grounded kids, which my wife's fault because she stays at home and she is really great at raising really good humans. It's been phenomenal. But if there's ever a challenge, I want teachers, administrators to know who her parents are. So they go, oh, no, those three, they come from good parents. And then we get the benefit of the doubt. Along the way, we've just made some really great friends. And it's just been, I've been able to be a hero to my kids because when they're in elementary school and you can volunteer, they're like, my dad's a superhero because he's
Yeah.
here, right? All that
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Oh, that's such a beautiful thing, man. I got to go to because my son, oldest, just finished kindergarten, and I got to go to field day recently and work one of the stations, and it was awesome. And getting to know the parents and the opportunity that there is to build a network with other people, not even just, it's bigger than the business, just connecting with folks in your community where their kids are going to the same school as your kids. It truly is a beautiful thing. And so I recently have been able to experience that. Something that I wanted to ask, like, you didn't plan on making an 18-year career out of this thing, and it seems
Oh,
like it was a side hustle that you turned into a full-blown career. I mean, what was it about? Did you just find that you fell in love with the process, or was there something else that helped you to stay? Like Simon Sinek says, start with why. Like, why did you stay?
you know, that's a great question. And the answer has changed. So
Yeah.
originally I stayed because I would go to trainings and I would go to meetings and these people would get up and they'd talk about their success. And, you know, I am not the sharpest tool in the shed, the brightest light bulb. I'm not the best. I'm not the fastest. But you ever been in one of those rooms where you look at somebody having a bunch of success and you're like, if that dadgum person can do it, I know for a fact I can
I
do
know I
it.
could do it.
Right? Like
Yeah.
I'm born for this. No, so and then I went around telling everybody that, I'm gonna change the family tree because no one in my family was super successful, made a bunch of income. My dad worked for a grocery store, never made more than $18 an hour for an entire career. Um,
Wow.
it, we're blue collar regular folks, and I heard all this stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody here try and break out. We're not those kind of people. You can't do it. I was 24, had quit everything I'd ever started. They're like, we'll see if this one sticks. Okay, here comes Jason again. And I staked my reputation on winning here. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out because this is the one place where the only person that could put me on the bench was myself. And so as long as I was willing
Mm.
to pick myself back up, dust myself back off, and try, then I had unlimited chances to, hit the three or unlimited chances to bat, whatever your favorite sport is. And so I just kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it. And then I remember, I remember sitting down with somebody, and I was not a VP yet, just kind of getting some traction. And I was making about 45, 50 grand a year, which by the way, I never had a company offer me more than 44.5 a year. Like that was the best offer I ever got from a company with like a salary or hourly. And so I remember sitting down with a guy, I was making about 45 grand with a ton of flexibility, like working Monday through Friday, weekends off, not working evenings anymore. And I remember him sitting across the table making like 60. And he was becoming a client, and we were talking about like what his expenses were, how much he was bringing home. And I went, hey, by the way, if I could show you, you got a bit of a gap here to hit some of your financial goals. You can do something on the side, you can get a second job, you can get an extra certification to get training. Just out of curiosity, would you have any interest in if I could teach you how to fill that gap doing what I do part-time? Is that something that interests you? And he's like, oh, no, I love what I do. I would never switch. I was keeping more money on a monthly basis than this dude was because he was a W-2 employee. He had no access to residuals, didn't really love his boss. I had no boss. And then because we're 1099, taxes favor the self-employed, the business owner over the employee. And I was like, dude, like on paper, you think you're making more than me, but if we compare bank statements, I'm keeping more. Why would I ever take your job? And for so long, like 50, 60, 70, $80,000 a year was a good job. And it's still considered a good job now. And then I look at the cost of everything and I was like, man, throw up in my boots. It just wasn't something that interested me because I had developed a skill where I knew statistically how to guarantee an end result. I talked to enough people. I knew how to get enough people, and I knew that if I talked to X amount, I could hit. I knew what my metrics were, and so it became trackable. And I went, well, I'm just like this is my thing. I'm going to do this. Now, I'm also someone who, like what we're working on right now, is my industry has residuals built in, and I don't plan on like hanging up my smock, right? Like I do enjoy helping people, but getting to a point, like I've watched enough happen in life, like, what happens if you die? How does your family survive? Because my wife's a stay-at-home mom. And so to replace my income, she hasn't had to develop the skill. Her skills are invaluable to me, but to the marketplace won't match what I earn from an income standpoint.
Sure.
But I've also watched people who, like they have debilitating events medically that happen in their life. And all of a sudden, what they could do, they can't do. They're not dead, but they can't function anymore. And so I'm always, how do I diversify so that I can work because I want to, not because I have to? And that process has made me become more of a business owner instead of a salesperson. So I operate with a business owner mindset of, can this be operated as an absentee business owner, which I know based on what you do, you probably have that conversation a lot with people because I don't want to own my job, right? Like so I would say the last 3 years, just all the stuff that I've gone through, helping my dad who has dementia, doing a few things on purpose because my dad is still here, but he can't work. Right. And I wanted to set my family up so that no matter what happens to me, like we're good, because I know the faster I do that, the faster I don't want to live every day on the beach. I don't want to live every day on a golf course. I just want to be able to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with who I want. And the more options you have, the more fun it becomes. There was a book I read, and you're going to ask me who it was, and I'm not going to remember, but it said, one of the things it talked about is, in a career, true happiness comes from autonomy. And so autonomy to me is just having the flexibility to work with who you want to work with as clients, not having to say yes to everyone, being okay firing ones that don't match kind of what you're looking for. And then being able to take a vacation, being able to like switch off, take off the hat and be present with the people who are always going to be there, the ones that are going to take care of you later. Those decisions just made me operate a little different. I didn't start that way. I didn't have I had an epiphany because I watched what was going on with my parents. So like during COVID, I got in better shape. I don't think being in shape, I mean, you're in great shape. I don't know as if getting in better shape will make you live longer, but if I could just have a better ending, right? Because my parents are still here, but they don't have that health that I would like to have at their age. Because my kids I have kids later on in life. Right? I'm in my 40s and I got an under 1-year-old. I want to still be able to I want to be able to do cool stuff when they're graduated. also, doing that allowed me just to make better choices to help be more involved with my kids, things like that.
Dude, that's beautiful, man. And I love, love, love it because I talk a lot on the show. I talk to franchise owners, franchise executives, people that are interested. A lot of people who are listening are interested in business ownership, and they're just getting started. And what you're talking about, I mean, it's not necessarily about the widget, it's about what the widget can do to create the lifestyle that you truly want that helps you hit all the goals. And you also talk about the importance of establishing something that's bigger than yourself, that can sustain whether you show up or not. Not to say that you don't work hard, and not to say that you didn't have to spend years building it and pivoting and blood, sweat, and tears, man. But you have something that somebody that just has a W-2 and that's it
Yeah.
could potentially never have. And the messaging is so important for people to hear. So on this journey, right, let's talk about maybe some areas where you failed, or you had to grow, or you had to pivot in your mindset because you were hitting your face on the ground, or you were flopping, or maybe you got challenged in an area that forced you to level up.
Yeah. So a couple of things happened. First of all, that phone is awfully heavy to pick up the first time.
Preach, man. Come on, man.
Like I get it. You ask my kids, like, how do you answer the phone? And they do this. And for me, I'm a little older. It's like this. And that damn headset was heavy, right? And I just had to
200
get
pound
past
phone,
that.
man.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just had to get past. I had to get past that. And then, man, there was a movie, Saving Mr. Banks, the Disney movie, and it's the story of how the Mary Poppins book was written. And did you ever watch the
Yeah,
movie?
I
Did you
did.
ever watch it? Okay,
It's been a
so
minute. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so the dad, so she was trying to protect the image of her dad because she wrote the book and she put her dad in a better light. And his dad was ultimately a drinker, died from his addictions, right? Got really sick. And just everybody was like, he's such a loser, but she loved her dad, right? And she just wanted to protect her dad and protect that. My wife was married, she was pregnant with our second, and I was just hitting a wall. Like, it seemed like I could not get my income to jump to the next level. And I was really frustrated. And I was like, look, I need my income to jump another level because we're about to have another mouth to feed. And like, it's working
Come on.
out, but there's not a lot of extra. And and I remember watching that movie, and I've never been, I've never had an addiction issue, right? Drinking or anything like that. I kind of hardly drink. I did 75 hard, and the easiest part was you can't drink for 75 days. I was like, piece of cake.
Got that
So,
check.
but I was watching that movie, and I was like, I am not performing to my talent level. Like, I know that I'm better than what I my numbers were representing my outcome, and I was better than my outcome. And so I knew I just needed to adjust my numbers. I remember being up there, and I remember like it was yesterday. We were watching it in the game room, and my wife was there pregnant. My other daughter was there. My oldest was there, and I just remember being like, dude, her parents like expected me to, like, they saw me like the great white knight, right? Come in and gonna deliver for the family. And I mean, they entrusted their daughter with me, and I was not performing to my level of expectation, and I felt like a total loser. And I was like, I may not be a drunk, but I don't know as if I'm any better than this dude. And I went,
Mm.
that's it, right? When you get backed against the wall, you like, we all have like trap doors to escape out of. And I was like, that's it. Like, we gonna stand and fight. The wolves might eat me, but I'm gonna stand and fight. And so I
Yeah.
did. I chose to stand and fight, and I just went all in. I was like, that's like, this is where it's at. And then my oldest goes and gets sick. She ended up with a staph infection in her hip. So totally fine in the morning. Then all of a sudden complaining that she couldn't walk. And then runs a fever, and we're like, all right, we're going to the ER. And she ended up having a staph infection that got put in her hip socket. Get staph in the blood. The only way to get rid of it is to intravenously get antibiotics for 21 days. They ended up having to do 2 surgeries to clean out the staph. And it was a nightmare. 3 weeks at Children's Hospital. They were phenomenal, but my wife was pregnant, and I had just gone all in to grow my business, to provide for the family. And then 3 weeks at a hospital, and Zoom, Like all of this stuff was not all this digital. Hey, let's like pop open a computer, an iPad, a laptop, and let's meet virtually. That stuff didn't
Wasn't a
exist.
thing. Yeah, it
No, I
wasn't a
was
thing.
kneecap to kneecap with everything. And I just remember like I got to find a solution. And two things kept popping into my head. Jeremiah 29:11, right? That piece of scripture. And then every setback is a setup for God to do something special in your life. And I'm not the guy who like
Oh,
runs around spouting scripture, all that stuff. But like that thought came to my mind. I was like, look, and I had been brainwashing myself to be a positive thinker for like 12 years at this point. And I went, I don't have time for like positivity and rah rah. Like, I need a solution. Brain, would you give me a solution? And like the second or third time that those thoughts popped back into my head, I was like, deal. Okay, I don't know if it's a message from the Lord or not, but I'm gonna just pretend like it is. I'm gonna act as if it is. It's I'm just gonna act like it's already done, and I'm gonna go to work. Right. So pray like it's up to him, but I went to work like it was up to me. And we
man.
had 7 days left in the month. And dadgummit, if I didn't have my best month in a 10-year career in 7 days, I was like,
Wow.
wait a minute, did I remember driving on 121 in Plano, coming into Frisco, over there by IKEA, being like, is
Yeah.
this, am I living day one of the dreams that I've had for like 10 years? Like, is this day one?
Wow.
And then for the next 3 years, I ran scared like it was all going to fall apart because businesses don't just like go, go, go on their own. They'll go, go, go. You take your foot off and that sucker just coasts right down to the floor. And I was like, keep me out of the land of manna. I've been there long enough. Let's go. And so the next month, I was like, I'm going to double my activity. I'm going to double my money. I'm going to double the income I make. I got this thing figured out. I'm untouchable, right? I felt like I was on top of the world. I met with twice as many people, made like a tenth of the money, and went, what the heck happened? So me and my sales manager, i.e. me, went to Starbucks. We went through my calendar together. So I was talking to myself in my head, and we just went over every meeting I had. And what I realized is the month before, I had met with my target market for my prospects. And that was the month where I broke all of my records. Like if you didn't fit my target
Mm.
market, I was not meeting with you. And so all of a sudden I had like all this success. And then the next month I met with everybody and almost none of them, like I think like 4 or 5 of them were my target market. And then I had like 60 that were not. And I went, oh, that's what happened.
Yo, thanks for listening this far. It's at this point in the episode that I want to talk about Streetwise franchising, teaching, training, building. Streetwise franchising. As a franchise consultant, it's my job, it's my absolute pleasure, and it's my mission to help aspiring entrepreneurs find, launch, and build their ideal business. I've been a franchise owner for almost a decade. I know what it means to struggle. I know what it means to build a team. If you're ready to get off of zero, if you're ready to build something for yourself, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's get the conversation started. Don't wait until tomorrow to build your future. It starts today. Streetwise franchising. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Let's get back to the episode. That's a super interesting point because I find myself in that situation as well. You know, we want to engage with folks, and you had said something earlier where you find yourself more as a consultant than a salesperson, and building the rooms. And I want to talk to you about creating the rooms to be in, but also kind of navigating the space. I mean, it just seems so difficult sometimes to build efficiencies in your time. So you're experiencing this, you realize you had a great month, you did more in 7 days than you had done ever. And then now you have way more activity. What did you do then to bring it back? How did you start qualifying the work that you did and the time that you put in?
Yeah. So before I called somebody to schedule a meeting, I made sure they were my target market or they didn't get the phone call.
Mm.
And so what would happen is I would go into big, like you go into a chamber of commerce meeting in like a big city and there could be 60 or 70 people in there. Well, I just looked for what's the easiest way to identify my target market. And for mine, it just happened to be people who are married. So I just looked for wedding rings and I would go connect with them
Okay.
because what I found, and And I bet I've asked a lot of people this over the years, meeting with folks who just never thought about that. Because my mom taught me, don't judge a book by its cover, and we all want to be nice, but it's business. And I wanted, so I just started finding that my best clients, my best referral partners, and the people who treated my referrals the best, all of my people that I was down with and that were down with me, they were all married. And I was like, And I also knew too that if there was somebody who was single in the room that was good at what they did, trust me, the room knows. They tell you, oh, you know who you need to meet with though? You got to meet with. And there was a guy who runs a painting company locally, and he fell into that category. And I met with him, super good dude, and they were right. But I got to miss like a lot of the wasted time, so I could just be more efficient. Because if you're sitting down with your target market, right? If you know what your avatar looks like and you sit down with your avatar and you go, hey, this is what I'm looking for, they will self-identify as your ideal avatar. I would be interested in that. I knew that when I asked the question, right? Like that was the purpose. That way I never had to like some of the cheesy stuff that I learned in sales. You say it, they doubt it. They say it, they believe it. When you don't have context, that's like, I don't know, like super cryptic to me. I just didn't understand the like process behind it. And then I would sit down with someone and I go, hey, look, here's who I'm looking for. And they go, I mean, I know a bunch of people like that, but I mean, you're describing me. I would be interested. And I no longer was convincing someone else why they needed it. And if they didn't self-identify themselves, I would take the referrals, I'd take the introductions, and then on the way out, I would, hey, by the way, if I could do that for you, like scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, where would you put yourself on wanting to have that stuff fixed for yourself? And bro, if they said anything less than a 7, I'd be cool. Thank you. Now I know we never have to talk about it again. And I stopped closing them. And like 1 out of 100 would be like, well, what do you mean we never have to talk about it again? And then they would like pull themselves above 7. But it just made it so that I could just go meet with people, and then I could if I was going to meet with one person, I could focus on making them a client, or I could focus on building a relationship to get access to the 200 good relationships they had. And I don't know what business trades 200 contacts for one. And then you got to be such hard pressure. Yeah, because then you got to be so hard pressure to get the one that they tell everybody to stay away from you. I didn't want that.
So how do you go ahead and let's talk here. Let's pivot like this. Let's talk about faux pas, professional networking, bad moves. What do people do? Because let me add some context, right? Again, people listening, like we're just now getting into business ownership, or we're considering getting into business ownership. A lot of this stuff is new to us, and we've never walked down this path before. We're told, oh, you got to be an ambassador in the community. We want mayors of the town. We want people that are going. So what do you got to do? You got to go to the chambers. You got to go to BNI. You got to go to all these different groups. Now I'm here, but I don't necessarily have training in what to do. So what are some things that people should avoid, and what are some tactics that they can take when they first get started?
Anybody who listens to this who has not read the book 7 Levels of Communication should go order it right now. Just go listen to that and become a connector. I think if you ignore everything that we're about to talk about, go read that book, because it's how I built it. So here are some things that I saw that people would make a mistake. A, they wouldn't give it time, right? They'd go a couple times and they'd go, they're not throwing their checkbooks at me. Well, I know. This is a crock pot, not a microwave. This is not a cold call list of people who like clicked, I want some information. Okay. We're all here trying to grow our business, and we did not join so we could become everybody else's client and not get anything. Right. So givers gain, right? What have you given? And so when I sit down with people, I like to find out, hey, what do we have in common, right? And so I didn't grow up in Texas. I grew up in Northern California. I've been here for half my life now. And so I just ask people, hey, so are you Are you born and raised here, or are you a transplant like me? Right? I got a couple of kids. How about you? I'm just looking for the Me Too's, right? And then I find out what they do from an occupation standpoint and I go, okay, so what's your favorite referral to get? What pays you the most? What do you do for them? What do they look like? What's your avatar and what are they buying? All right. Now, I don't always have an avatar, an end user avatar for every person I sit down with. I go, cool. Who is the best suited to send you a referral? Who are your synergy partners? Right. And so I would ask that question. And so many times I ask people what their synergy partners are and they repeat their avatar, their end user, their goal client. I'm like, no. That's your client. Who has a non-competing product that goes after your client, your ideal avatar? That way you have a non-competing product, which means I can share referrals with you. And at no point do I have to worry about you taking my client from me. And it like light bulbs will go off for people. Those I have all day long, and people pass business connections like that, like baseball cards when we were kids. Now, what I see people mess up on is they go to the meeting, they show up late, they make up for it by leaving early, and they wait for everyone else to call them. Well, I passed out all my business cards, but nobody called me. I've been doing it for
Must not have worked.
I've been doing it for 9 or 10 years. And I don't know as if I've had more than 15 people call me to schedule a meeting with me, but I have met with thousands of people and I have a huge database. I have 3,500 contacts in my phone of people that I've met out networking. I find that they go there to sell or they just go there to make a new friend. They don't pick up synergy partners. They don't give synergy partners. They just don't ask the right questions. I'll give you a great example. So I've got a new group that we're in a new, where I live now. We've probably been together for like maybe 3 months, and I just hadn't done a really great job of meeting with everybody in the group. So I pulled the roster, who's married, and I called them. Okay. And so I'm making those meetings. Well, I sat down with one guy and we met a little longer, but I started asking questions and all of a sudden I found out I had 2 people in my Rolodex that were great fits. I think there might be an opportunity where we could do some like business together, but the people that I sent him are going to financially profit from that relationship. And that makes me look good to 3 people. So now I have resources. Well, if you don't ask questions for the how to, like genuinely, how do I help you? No one's going to take a second to be like, well, how do I help Jason? Also, if 100 new people learn about your business and you tell them the help that you need, if it's
found
within
that
their
the
bandwidth,
people that ask the questions tend to control the conversation.
Yeah, but it's not even controlling the conversation. Like, I don't ask questions to control the conversations. I'm genuinely asking so I can figure out how the heck I can help you. Because when I call you, I want you to know that I'm not another sales dude trying to sell you a product. I don't want to be the guy where your phone lights up and you go, oh, I'll call him back. I always wanted to be the guy where you're like, hang on, I have to take this real quick. He only calls to give me stuff. Hey man, what's up? And so I became I just wanted to be the guy that everybody took the phone calls for. Because I knew that if you can do that for somebody because you're genuinely helping them grow their business, if there becomes an opportunity for your product or service to be needed or utilized, you're not guaranteed the business, but you are guaranteed a shot to compete for it. And all I want is a shot. All I want is a shot. I'll earn my spot. I don't, if I'm not better, if I don't have a better solution to your problem, I don't need to be the one that you throw your business at. I just want to earn it. And if I legitimately earn it, I just want a shot at the table. And so people, and I've watched people, here's another faux pas people do. They do all the right work and then life gets tough. They haven't made a sale often enough. They're a little behind in their bills. Maybe they have a personal relationship and then they dumpster fire themselves and tell everybody in their network. And the challenge with that is when you start having uncertainty, you stop sending referrals. And I have watched people do all the work for 6 months and their life blows up and they tell everybody how terrible it is. And then I watch everybody go, now we don't have crystal balls. We can't go back and change time, but I bet you I bet you they missed out on the introduction or the referral that could have saved their business because they overshared their problems. Like, put a friggin' smile on. Take your problems, put them in a little sack, and leave them at the door of the networking group. It'll be waiting for you when you come out. And then smile, suck it up, because those people need to know that they can count on you. If they send you their mama, their best friend, they want to know that you have the bandwidth. It's also people like, oh, I'm just too busy to show up. Well, if you're too busy to show up and be here with us, you're probably too busy to handle my referrals. Let me go find somebody new to build a relationship with. Because when I give a referral, I don't ask for referral fees. What I ask is, look, I'm going to send you someone. So make sure you make me look good, because you and I may never do business directly one-on-one, but that person I do. And if you damage that relationship, you damage my relationship with them, and then we have a problem. Well, if you've got something sticky going on in life, I'm like, we don't hold on. And even if people don't realize they do it, they naturally do it. Right? You watch somebody go through a bankruptcy, you watch somebody go through a health deal. Yeah, all the time. And people will overshare that. And those are just some of the things that I see. But I'm telling you, 7 levels of communication. You just be a connector, and then do it until you die. And don't worry about the outcomes, which is really hard to say, because when I was trying to build my business, I had moments where I was like, man, I wish I asked for referral fees, because dadgummit, I am like making connections. People are making money left and right, and I need some breadcrumbs, baby. The mana ain't kicking it. I need a little more. And then I'd go, nope, no, we're just going to trust the process. And I would double down in the right market with the right people. I'd keep my message the same. I kept my struggles to myself. And now I'm just grateful. And the last like year and a half, my dad, Adult Protective Services, got involved. He could no longer live on his own. He was living on his own in California. I live in Texas. That stuff didn't work. He had to move. It was either move with me in Texas or go into like some kind of assisted living. And we didn't want that to happen. So I had to help him clean out his hoarder house, offload his house. We had to buy a bigger house. And then we had a baby. Life was a little complicated. Now, fast forward, we're like a year and a half into that, and everything is kind of stationary. I'm a full-time caregiver for my dad. I volunteer with my kids. I have hobbies, and I run a business. And I have like some extra time now that the baby's a little bit older. And I'm just grateful that, like, when the opportunity presented myself, I said yes. Because when you join a networking group, there's a cost, whether it's the chamber or something else. And you want to be able to tell, like, how many clients do I need to make out of this room to break even? And then everything else is profit. So you're just investing sweat equity in order to do that. And so you got to give it time to get there. And the bigger the product, like B2B or high commission stuff, will take a little bit longer than, hey, you want to have your trash cans washed. You want to get your yard cut. Like, right? So you have to understand your sales cycle too. And just like the Seven Dwarfs said it, man, whistle while you work, baby. It's dirty, it's hard, it's tough, but man, it's worth it at the end.
Dude, that's good. I feel like I needed to hear that, because I think in times, and I've been networking, gosh, since I started the business. So it's eight years I've been moving around the DFW area. I've known you for 3 or 4 at this point. I don't even know anymore. And I've definitely been the one that when times have been tough, maybe I overshared. And I have definitely been the one, because I've sold different products, right? With Mosquito Joe, and then we did Groovy Hughes, and now with the franchise consulting. The sales cycle for all 3 of those are extremely, extremely different. So I resonate with that too. Here's my last, like, not my official last question, because I'll wrap it up. But as we get towards the end, I do want to like touch on one more with networking. How do you know when it's time to either leave a group, maybe create your own group, or really, like, the base of the question is understanding the ideal room that you need to be in? How do you know? Because we can get all caught up in, oh, I'm doing the things. And we kind of touched on this earlier with my efficiencies in prospecting, but specifically in getting into the right rooms. How do I know when I need to create one, leave one, or really stick with the one that I'm in now?
Yeah, so I've done all of the above.
Yeah.
And in January of this year, I actually left one. And I was with them for about 2 years, and I know a lot of people that still go. And for about 3 or 4 months, it felt like a job. I really didn't want to be there. I didn't want to connect with them. And maybe it's because of where I was in business. Maybe it was just the room. I don't know, but it started feeling like a job. And I had somebody I respect a lot, who is a high level broker owner at Keller Williams Realty, who one time I was helping her out with a project, and she said, "Hey, look, if it ever feels like a job, please tell me, because it's time to exit." And I went, "Man, that's solid. Okay." By the way, I
Yeah.
exited when it felt like a job. But this one I exited, and I was trying to find a reason to stay. And then a couple of things happened. And I was like, that's it. Like, I can't do it anymore. And I
Yeah.
like officially stuck a fork in it. I was done. I
Yeah.
met a mortgage couple in the McKinney area probably 3 or 4 years into my networking. And at that point, I networked everywhere, like all over DFW. And they said they lived in McKinney, and I was talking about like what his goals were and what he was trying to accomplish. He said, we used to be everywhere too. And then we decided to double down and put all of our efforts in McKinney alone, because if I can get 1% of the mortgage business out of McKinney, we'll have $1 million income. And I was like, that's kind of cool. Good for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I was like, that's great for him. That's not going to work for me. And then when I went back after COVID and I reinvented my like networking sphere, it's exactly what I did. Well, then we moved from McKinney a little farther north to Melissa. And I was like, I want to connect it here. And what I found is in Melissa, there's a really high percentage of business owners and salespeople, a very low percentage of networking groups. And so I got a call because somebody who's a realtor wanted to start a group. And I was like, I'm in, totally in. Because I've built mine through networks, I see some places where we're going to need to grow, but we're just not there, because we run our group on Thursday and we got 70 people showing up, 92 on the roster. It's like a third of the size, and it's just has some different personalities in the room. And that will continue to grow and evolve. But that one starts feeling like a job, man, I'm gonna tap out, because I would rather leave with everybody having a great opinion versus the dumpster fire who like, I'm gonna take my ball to a different playground and they stomp out. Like, come on, save us all from the dramatics. Don't hurt your business reputation. Just step out. Now, I tried to get involved in the chamber locally, and the chamber in Melissa just hasn't evolved enough where it makes sense for me to like plug into a regular meeting. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect with the other business owners in town, because we're all chamber members, right? And I'm going to call the same way I always did. Hey, how can I help? What do you need? And I know that if I ask enough people, how do I help? What do you need? Somebody out of the goodness of their hearts going to be like, I mean, what do you need? It's funny. We had DJ Smiley visit our group on Thursday.
Yeah.
And our
Yeah. I
kids
met him yesterday. Yeah.
Our kids go to the same school.
Oh, sweet.
I met him at the Easter event when we were under contract on our house. He had no idea what I did for work until he came to that meeting like 2 weeks ago. He's like,
No way.
we had no idea what you did. I wasn't even sure. And I've just always looked for ways to help him out. And I found that for my personality, I just give. Now there are times where you go, okay, I'm like, I can't give, because no matter how much I give, it's never going to be reciprocated. It's not appreciated. I'm going to go take it. I'm going to give this to somebody else. But I really think like when you end it is when it feels like a job and you don't want to be there. Don't be there. Just gracefully bow out. Tell them you're too busy. Tell them you have something with work that's rescheduled that you can't reschedule, that now conflicts. You can't be there. But find a way to gracefully bow out so you don't blow up any bridges, because the business world is super small, and you never know when somebody is going to end up on the deciding table for a really big deal for you, right? And maybe it's not in business, maybe it's personal, it might be professional. You just never know. When you start your own, for the most part, it's always better to plug into somebody else's network and grow within them. The reason that you would, I think there's two reasons you would branch out. You were in a business and now you're starting a new business and it competes with somebody else in the room and you can't stay, i.e. like a realtor or something like that. then you go start your own. The only other reason I would say start your own is if leadership gets really toxic and messy and you go, look, I love
Mhm.
people, but I cannot be associated with this toxic environment. I have to go. And you invite those to go with you that want to go with you. And if they don't want to go with you, like, hey, cool, totally understand, right? We went through that in McKinney January of last year, right?
Mhm.
It wasn't a
Yep.
toxic environment. We just felt like the what we were giving and what we were getting, it was no longer of equal or greater value. It was significantly less value what we were getting than what we were giving. We're like, all right, so I think it's time. And that was a 6 month vacillating conversation that we finally pulled the plug on. And it was great for everyone in the room. It wasn't just great for people in the front of the room. It was good for all. And then again, starting on your own, if you're going to start one on your own, I will tell you that you have to put as much effort into that as you do your business because you got to get it off the ground fast. And you need 25, 30 people in a room real quick. Otherwise, it fizzles out. I had a mentor said, it's kind of like wetting the bed. It's warm at first, but goes real cold real quick. And so you got to get people in the room. So it's exciting. It's fun, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh man, those were so many key takeaways, man. This was great. I'm really glad that we hopped on. As we wrap this up, or before I wrap it up, I will say I'm pretty sure it was you that put me on 7 levels of communication a few years ago. You put me on
Yep.
a lot of good stuff now that I think about it. This one's due for a reread. And also I think for me, my biggest takeaway, because man, that phone is heavy, man. Like give me a checklist, give me stuff I'll go do it all day. But if I got to sit here and just sit on the phone and it's hard, like I'll be the first one I fail at that more than I succeed. And that's the thing that in order for me to change my business, I know I got to turn that part of it around. So thank you for the value, the
Yep.
listener, man. I know they got a ton of stuff, but before I let you go, answer me this. Somebody comes to you and maybe you close your eyes, you're thinking about yourself when you were 17, maybe you think about your kids, their age now, anybody that's struggling to get off of zero and take the step that they know they need to take to achieve their dreams, become the person their dreams need them to be, all the things. How do you encourage that person in helping them take that step?
So I'm doing that with my oldest. And I helped her start a little small, like when she's out of school, we pressure wash trash cans, right? So my daughter's petite, so is my wife. And I got one of those gas powered pressure washers. It's really cute to watch her like fight with the pressure washer to clean out trash cans. But what I'm teaching her is what I came up with when she started a new school. So I don't sit with headphones on all day and work. And so she was trying to describe to fourth graders, like, what does my daddy do for work? And so she came home one day and she's like, Daddy, I tried to explain what you do to my friends, and they said it sounded like a fake job. And I was like, well, it pays real. But I could see, like, based on activity, how it doesn't really look like I actually work. I was like, all right, deal. And so I had to come up with a way to describe what I do to a fourth grader who could describe it to other fourth graders in a way they would understand. And I said, baby, I am a professional problem solver. And I like solving problems. That's my favorite thing to do, regardless of compensation. I just happen to get paid to solve people's financial problems. And so sometimes I solve I help people work through non-financial problems. I've had conversations like that where it wasn't like,
Yep.
here's a product or service going to fix your problem. No, it was just, hey, what's the challenge? And this is what I would look at it this way, or I would
Mindset
try
shift.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I told her I'm a financial problem solver. So we wash trash cans. I go, what's people's problems? Their trash cans smell so bad that they like, how quickly can I open this, throw in the trash and get away before I like fall over with the flies? I go, we solve that for 35 bucks a trash can and $10 for each additional one. And so I took her out as an 8-year-old and she made like her best day. We did like 3 houses and she did 45 times 3, right? And she's like, Dad, I'm rich. I said, well, that's what happens when you solve people's problems. And so my recommendation to somebody trying to get off to zero is, first of all, Find a problem that you recognize that needs solved. I will tell you that, Melissa, one problem we don't have is the lack of nail salons. So if you want to open a nail salon, probably not here. We got like,
Don't go to
I
Melissa.
don't know, highest per capita nail salons in Melissa. It's hilarious. They keep approving them. But so look for a problem that needs to be solved. And
Yeah.
then ask yourself, is the marketplace, can you make enough money solving the problem to support yourself? And if the answer is yes, then that's a viable business, right? If there's a big enough problem and enough money to solve the problem, well, now that's where businesses are born, right? Like Zoom. I mean, look at Zoom. Pre-pandemic, anemic. Post-pandemic, like, look out. Right, but they solve problems. And so you find something also, and the other thing that would be nice is if you can find a problem that isn't necessarily cyclical like the industry. There's cycles and everything, but if you can find
Sure.
something that is hopefully not as affected by every economic cycle, it's better. And so when you know that there's a problem, you get paid to solve it, then you're no longer going around and being like, hey, you fog a mirror, let me fix your problems. You go, hey, do you have any problems that bother you enough to get them solved? Because I solved this problem. Is that a problem for you? Do you know anybody that's a problem
Mm.
for? And then they go, oh, I know a problem solver. Well, they hear somebody talking about the problem, they have the problem, they go, I know a problem solver for that. Right? Like you came and you did your presentation, you talked about your like 3 avatars for who
Yep.
typically comes and has a challenge. Well, I mean, that's a great visual representation of, I know some that like describes X person. So when you can craft your message to be like, look, this is what our tagline is: friends don't let friends buy life insurance for savings. Most people, that
Love it.
means nothing. But if that means something to you, we're probably going to have a conversation about it. And it's
Man.
memorable and it's very direct. And I never mix messages. I've used the same message for the whole time I've been networking. That way people aren't like, well, what does he do? What does he help people with? Oh, he helps teach people why friends don't like friends buy life insurance for savings. Yeah. The ones who fight me are the ones who are trying to sell it. The ones who ask questions are the ones who have bought it and don't know, or bought it and have remorse because they don't like how it worked out for them. But it just creates conversations. And that's what if you have a business that you can get people, like, create a tagline that gets people to have conversations and then give it time. You want to show me I'll show you, for every overnight success you think exists, I'll show you 10 years of heartache that you would have quit over and over. And quite frankly, they should have. You and I have been in business together. Tell me there haven't been nights where you're like, I should really get a job. I should go do
Man.
something else. My talent, I could just punch in, punch out, go home, and life would be easier. I'd have more money in the bank. I'd have less responsibilities. Oh, what am I doing? And you go, nope, because I ain't no pansy, because the same pressure that bust pipes build diamonds. And people are like tea bags. You want
Man.
to find out the flavor, put them in hot water. And baby, you put me in hot water, we just lighten the room up. Like, let's go.
Let's
And
go.
I learned that because I became a problem solver, and it's okay if it takes you 10 years, because 10 years is going to go by. And you want to be 10 years of the same year for 10 years in a row of a job? Or do you want to go through some growth so that in 10 years, you can call people and be like, hey, man, you want to go on the boat? And they're like, nah, man, I got to work. Oh, that's right. Tuesdays, you got a job. All right, catch you later, man. Hey, if you ever get a free time during the league, let me know. I'm going to the lake. I'm going to go catch some fish. Hey, I'm going to go hunting. I'm going to go, like, all the things that people do with fun, or
Yeah, let's go.
they see you at your kid's school. So yeah, absolutely. Just, it's worth it. Totally worth it if the marketplace will support the business.
Dude, that's awesome. I loved it. I love this conversation. Thank you so much. I'm gonna let you get back to your day. Where can people
I
find you
appreciate it.
though? Like people want to reach out. Where can they hit you up at?
Man, I do most of my stuff on Facebook. So just search me,
Okay,
Jason Bardin. You'll find me on Facebook.
sure.
Me and
I'll
all my
throw a link in the
kids.
show notes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be perfect. And then feel free to like DM me. If you Google me, I pop up everywhere. So it's not that hard to track me down. And I love connecting with people in the area, business owners looking for ways to collaborate, whether it's introducing people. Worst case scenario, we help each other grow our networks through introductions. Best case scenario, we might even create some active income from each other. Either way, we show up with a giver's gain and it's productive on both ends.
Man, well, Jason Bardin, one of the best referral givers I know. Thank you so
Appreciate
much
you.
to the
Yeah.
listener. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise.
Hey,
Peace.
Streetwise.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Hey, if this episode added any value to your life at all, please like it, share it, give me a 5-star review. It's the only way that this show is going to gain traction and help more people achieve their dreams. If you're ready to start your franchise journey, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's set up a time to talk. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Until next time, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.